Layne from YellowBox Careers, and we're talking careers. I'm in Isles Lane, which is in Brisbane, and thought today we'd pick up on our conversation about mental health and the impact that it has on people's careers and their mental well-being. Last time we talked about the question, what do you want, or what do I want? When you decide that what you have is not what you want and you start to think about the implications of that, then the fun starts. Now I have to find something different to do in my career. Now, broadly speaking, when people start this process feeling optimistic, in what's known as a state of uninformed optimism, essentially that means that I kind of don't really know what the future looks like, but I don't think I'll have much of a problem negotiating whatever it throws up, and I expect it'll kind of happen pretty quickly. We don't always anticipate that things can change, and they don't often happen as planned. And when we potentially move towards gathering a little bit more data, that optimism can turn broadly into a little bit more pessimism. Maybe I've applied for a couple of roles and I've got the rejection letter. You know, the one that starts with that sort of standard line, thanks for your application, but due to an overwhelming amount of applications, we won't be proceeding with yours. You know, that kind of letter. Or maybe I got a bit of feedback on my resume and it kind of breeds a little bit of self-doubt, or maybe I look at my profile and my work history and I feel a little bit like a fraud, something that we'll deal with another time. But hey, you know, maybe I did an interview and it went really, really badly. Whatever the situation is, I'm now starting to experience a bit of a crisis of confidence. If that's you, don't worry, because it's pretty normal. If anxiety doesn't appear at some point in your career or in some point of your job search process, you should be surprised. Hey, this can happen when you go for a promotion as well. Rejection isn't purely the domain of the external job seeker. There was a psych by the name of Carl Rogers that introduced us to the idea of self-concepts. And a self-concept can be described as a person's belief, I suppose, about themselves or about him or herself, including a person's attributes and who and what the self is. Carl Rogers explains there are three primary things that make up self-concepts. Self-image, what I see when I view myself, self-esteem or how I feel about myself, and ideal self. And this is kind of how I compare myself to others around us. When we're going through significant change in our careers, these things start to fray at the edges. I kind of see everybody as better than me. I start to lose confidence in my abilities and my story becomes a bit muddled and a bit uncertain. And I start to wonder if this was such a good idea. We don't like feeling like this, which is often why we don't explore career options and we stay where we are. It just becomes too hard and maybe it becomes too painful. Carl Rogers also said that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Now that's real gold and something that we'll talk about when we look at how to position myself in the external environment. So, what to do? Well, firstly, let's believe that you are amazing, talented, gifted and skilled. You are also immensely valuable to an organisation. And with the right approach, you're going to get exactly what you want. Work on maintaining your emotional resilience and your equilibrium. Your time will come, so don't check out of the process. Stay focused on becoming more real, more authentic, more compelling by learning how to talk about yourself in a really interesting and compelling way. You will eventually get the kind of feedback that leads to what we call informed optimism and realize your dream of a rewarding and fulfilling role. Hey, till next time, make sure your day has a splash of color. Do something today that's really good for you.